You're a board member of CA Technologies. I think you're on the HR committee. I mean, just tell me what you'd be thinking right now heading into a board meeting, knowing what we know about Mr. Moonves' behavior if you were on the CBS board.
Well, it's complicated for sure on the board because board members have independent responsibility. Independent board members have responsibilities, and they must investigate these charges. There's no question about it. But they also have the activity that's ongoing or alleged to be ongoing at the corporation. So they have more than one issue to consider today. And of course, it's also complicated by lawsuits that are going back and forth between National Amusements and CBS. But with regard to Les Moonves, I think the board really does have to do the investigation, and I think people shouldn't jump to conclusions with regard to that, but they do have to take action. They have shareholders, they have to take action, and what that action will be, we'll find out probably later today. But they may suspend him while they're doing investigations, they may not. I think that they will go to a full investigation before making a decision. But let's look at it from Les Moonves' point of view for a moment. It's really critical for him because if you are dismissed from a company with cause, it has real, influence and effect on what your long-term payout is when you leave the company. So that's very different than leaving the company on your own accord or being fired but not for cause. There's a big difference in what your
about
pay package will be going.
$180 million difference for him. That's real money. Well, Kate, what would you do? I mean, what do you think based on what you know about the behavior at this point? Would you want Mr. Moonves to step down?
Look, Les Moonves is one of the most gifted CEOs and creators in the industry. The board clearly would not like to see him step down, but the independent board members have a duty. And if the allegations looked at from the lens of 2018, which is where we are, they could be very serious, and they may ultimately have to have him step down from his position at CBS because if the allegations are true. But I do think they should do the full investigation and not jump to conclusions.
Yeah, Mr. Farrow went on beyond just the allegations, of course, against Mr. Moonves to sort of describe the culture at CBS overall. Okay, I'm curious, what does something like this do to management, to the ability of the company to function appropriately as they wonder whether they're going to continue to have the boss they have or that boss's boss, so to speak, as well?
It causes a lot of concern on the part of people. They don't know if the merger of CBS and Viacom will take place at this point. That was already on the table that they didn't know. Now their boss is on, questioned as to what his behavior will be. Will he be there, not be there? Look, there are a lot of talented people at CBS. I'm not saying that CBS is going to tank, but I do think it'll have further repercussions for the stock price if it continues. And I think almost, if I were sitting on the board, I almost would like him to step aside at least while the investigation is going on, because I think as long as Les is sitting there, it's going to be in the press all the time. Daily, weekly, it's going to continue. And maybe take a little heat off the company to do a right investigation. It would be good for him to take a hiatus. And I think if I were sitting on the board, that would probably be my consideration at this point in time.
Yeah, as the stock falls another more than 4% at this hour, Kay, you referenced the legal battle over the company's future that was going on with Viacom. I mean, the big picture here is the future of some of these companies, how they're going to take on Netflix, how they're going to take on cord cutting and a digital future and a shift in a business model. I'm wondering if this leadership scandal speeds that up for CBS or slows it down ultimately.
I think it's going to speed it up. I think that both Viacom and CBS have to have a resolution. Of course, there's a court case going on with regard to the shares of National Amusements and their voting shares versus their actual ownership shares. Dividends to be paid or not paid, that's going to go to the Delaware courts. It's really a lot to be decided. And sitting on the board of CBS today is a very complicated position to be in. But they do have to consider all the ramifications for what's going to happen for the future. And the fight is direct to the consumer today. It's the Netflix model. It's what Disney is attempting to do. And even when you put CBS and Viacom together, they're still a relatively smaller player in the marketplace. So there are a lot of considerations for them. Are there other people out there for them to merge with? Are there other plays? Should they be up for sale? I mean, a lot of questions that the board has to face in order as we go through the next few months.
Yeah. Kay, you know, it's funny, you've been on with us many times. I've never asked you this, but, you know, given you've been in the media business a long time in senior positions, you're a woman. Did you ever deal with, did you ever deal with harassment at all along the way? Is it kind of typical behavior in some ways? And a lot of people want to give Mr. Moonves a pass by saying, well, it happened 20 years ago. I'm sort of curious, given your view of it and whether you've actually experienced it as well, what your thoughts are.
Well, bear in mind that I was a CEO. I started at the top of my company, and so I had a different position than perhaps other women did. I wasn't really in a position to be compromised, I think, in that way. So for me personally, no, but look, we all knew that this was going on, and just not only on CBS, but across Hollywood, across different networks. It was going on, but that does not excuse it. It really doesn't. Whether it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or today, it is emblematic of very bad behavior that was happening in the industry. I'm not saying that that's the outcome for Les Moonves. I think, again, there should be a full investigation for it. But, you know, I certainly had a few cases at the company that I ran that we had to investigate. And you get into a lot of the he said, she said, and if others can't corroborate the event or what happened. In this case, apparently, at least according to some articles that are out there, Ronan Farrell's articles, there are people who were told about the instances when they happened, and so there is a record outside of the person that's making the allegations in several different cases. So I think it makes it complicated, and a board cannot dismiss it because it was X number of years ago.